What's poppin', fam? Welcome to Don't Touch My Mindset, a podcast that is designed to uplift, inspire, and motivate you, and most importantly, share tools to help you protect that mindset. What's poppin', family? Welcome back to another episode of Don't Touch My Mindset. Amplify Speaker Series, of course. I told you over the course of time, we will be releasing short episodes of the speakers that we're going to have in Scottsdale, Arizona on January 26th and 27th. And last week, if you didn't catch it, we had Madeline Forrest on the podcast from Happy is Sober, just an incredible human being. And this week, we have another incredible human being on the podcast with us who's also going to be at Amplify doing her own session there, helping us out with the alcohol-free VIP mixer. Just hands-on, been working behind the scenes closely with me. Just an amazing speaker, coach, trainer, a great person who can really help you manage yourself a lot better. If you guys would please help me welcome Alexus Rae Lopez to the podcast. I know, right? Snaps, baby, snaps.
Welcome. Thank you, Jay. You're making me blush over here with that intro. Stop it. I'm changing colors.
No. It's all true. And when you are doing some amazing things within your business, behind the scenes with Amplify, in front of the scenes with Amplify, you're just an all-around amazing person. I'm honored to have you on the guest and have you at Amplify with us in Scottsdale. But will you please, in your own words, tell everybody who you are and what you do?
Sure, I would love to. As Jay said, I am Alexus Rae. You can find me under Alexus Rae Lopez, Alexus Rae, Alexus, but it's actually Alexus like the car, Alexus. Okay, I just want to set that straight from the beginning. As Jay said, I'm an entrepreneur. I own my own business, and where I am in life is helping other entrepreneurs balance themselves through self-management skills so that they can be top performing and enjoy their life.
Wow.
We have a knack, and I would say, I can't even say I personally, in my life, have been a person that didn't always manage myself well. Like, I would work 14 hours a day. I wouldn't eat. I wouldn't drink water. I wasn't managing stress. I wasn't taking care of myself. And all of those things led to a series of health crises. Then sometimes the universe gives us its own interruptions that redirects us. I know we're going to get into that today, Jay, but basically what I am here to do is to help all of the entrepreneurs not do what I did.
And it's easy for entrepreneurs to fall into this place of not managing themselves, putting work over themselves, finding themselves in a place of crises, right? And I want to definitely share your story because this is the first time we've had you on the podcast, and I'm super excited because this could be an hour and a half, 2 hours, guys. We don't know. We're just gonna rock with it today, but it's effective. Tell people where you came from in that moment of crisis, of take us back to the Alexus Rae before these self-management skills, before the professional and personal development. What did that Alexus Rae look like?
Oh, that's a great question, Jay. So that would take us back to 2020. And at that time, I was 2 years in working with a company that I thought my entire career was going to be with them. I thought that I was going to be eventually the boss in some sort of manner. Wasn't exactly sure how or where, but I was invested in them and I was killing myself for them. So I would get to the office somewhere between 6 and 7 in the morning. I would leave the office during high season, somewhere between 5 in the afternoon, 6 p.m. at night, working weekends, constantly thinking about it. But let me also say, like, I was killing it because I was excited about it. Like, it was work that I was enjoying. It was fun. It was challenging. I had energy for it. But then, for some reason, I started getting sick. So in 2020, I had 2 acute, quick onset kidney infections, and there's actually a diagnosis for it. It starts with a P. That word's like totally out of my mind at this point in time. But essentially, in like less than 24 hours, when my symptoms really kicked in, I was running a fever. I was cold and shaky. Went to urgent care. Again, I mentioned 2020. So they thought maybe it was the vid and sent me home. They're like, treat it like a cold. This was the first kidney infection. Treat it like a cold, isolate, do what you're supposed to do. So I actually went up and was staying with my mom, and the clinic who tested me called back a day or two later, because that's how long it took to get results at the beginning of 2020. And they said, okay, you don't have the vid. I'm like, all right, well, is it the flu? And they're like, well, we didn't test for that. I'm like, okay, well, I'm still like extremely sick.
Yeah.
And so once we found out that I didn't have to be isolating in my mom's bedroom anymore, I was sitting on the patio with her, and I just turned and looked at her as she was trying to have me eat some ramen noodles. I was trying to drink some cranberry juice, and I couldn't. I was so sick. I looked at her and I was like, we have to go to the hospital. Like, something is very wrong. So we went to the emergency room. They got me back and did a CT scan, did some other scan, and it turns out that my kidney infection was like raging. Like, had I waited another day or two, I was borderline about to have a blood infection. Like, it was escalating very quickly, and it was painful. Obviously, I was sick, like really sick. And after that, it was like, okay, what do you do now? Truth be told, Jay, I went back to my life. Like, I took the antibiotics, I did what I had to do to like make it go away, but I didn't really change anything about who I was or what I was doing. Fast forward 6 months, it's November 2020, and at this point now, I had kind of started to reevaluate, like, I'm living a life that's not really working for me anymore. I don't feel fulfilled in this job. I'm having a harder time in some of my relationships. I'm having an emotional breakdown. I call it the start of my emotional becoming chapter. So November, beginning of November, first week of November, a coworker of mine was out sick, and I was her backup. So that week, I was doing her job, my job, and whatever other special project that I was doing for the company, because that was my role. Like, I put a lot on my plate with them. They knew they could depend on me. I would get it done. I did not handle the stress well. So the day that she went out, the day that we found out that she had the vid, she was in the hospital, her stuff was bad, I did not eat, I did not drink water, and I was at the office for like 12 hours. By the end of the day, I walked into a coworker's office and I was like, let's go to happy hour. Like, I need to blow off some steam. Went to happy hour and totally indulged in vodka sodas. That was my drink. Vodka, single tall, soda water, lemon and lime. I can't even tell you how many I had. Then I drove myself home, got into the hot tub with my roommate because I had told her, like, hey, I have had a freaking day. She had a whole pitcher of our drink mixed up. Got into the hot tub, put myself to sleep, Jay. I was so intoxicated. Like, that is probably the most intoxicated I've been. Woke up the next morning. The only reason I woke up in time for work was because my dad called me. And this is a tradition. Like, typically I talk to my dad normally every morning before the workday starts. He wakes up early. I've always been a morning person. He called me and he's like, hey, are you okay? Like, I haven't heard from you. I'm like, oh, shoot. I'm late for work at this point. Probably still intoxicated. Get myself to the office, feeling terrible. Fast forward now 48 hours. I think I'm still nursing this hangover, and it turns out to be another kidney infection, like raging kidney infection in my other kidney. So now I've had 2 kidney infections, no actual explanation as to why. maybe it's the alcohol, maybe it's the stress, maybe it's something, but I'm like, I can't do this. So by the end of 2020, I had missed 6 weeks of work just because of these kidney infections. So that was the start. Like, that is where I have come from to now be on this journey 3, nearly 4 years later to say, I know what it's like when you don't take care of yourself. And I know how good it can be when you do take care of yourself. And hopefully people learn this lesson a little sooner than I did. And if they haven't figured it out yet, then let's figure it out now.
Absolutely. And out of that experience, like, wow, being able to throw yourself in so much work to where you feel like you need to go cope and unwind with something else that's outside, that's actually, as we do more research and find out that it's actually a poison to our body, alcohol, right? And we use it to unwind, and we use it to get rid of stress, but it actually poisons the body and doesn't fix anything, right? And so my question, out of that experience, what was the biggest lesson from self-management? Like, what is the first thing that we need to do in order to get down this road of self-management if we are experiencing burnout at work, if we are turning to other coping mechanisms outside of the healthy ones, such as drinking, drugs, alcohol, whatever that may look like? But what is the first step towards self-management for us to take?
Realizing that what you're doing right now is no longer working for you. Once you come to that pivotal moment, whether you say you're like walking up to a bridge that you're now about to cross, or if it's like, oh, I'm walking over this line in the sand, whatever your turning point is where you can stop and look around and recognize and just have that awareness that what you have been doing isn't working and you want to do something different, but maybe you don't know what, then you go figure out the what.
Oh, wow. And what I heard you say is we have to realize and recognize what we're doing isn't working and let it go. We got to figure out what is tying us down, right? And so when we figure out what's tying us down, we figure out this, right? How does one get out of this place of people pleasing, putting other people's needs in front of us in order to take time to actually manage ourselves for the best, healthiest version of ourselves? Like, how do we overcome that roadblock when we have so many people who are dependent on us? And maybe our personality style is people first, team first. How can I contribute first? How can I put these other people's needs and make sure that they're supported and taken care of before me? Shout out to my single moms out there. How can I make sure that the kids are taken care of before I manage myself? Self-management sounds nice, Alexus, from somebody who owns a business and somebody who has came out the trenches and has a lot of grit and resilience, but my life isn't like that, right? So I almost forgot what I asked, but how?
No, this is a great question. How do you get to put yourself at the top of your list when you still have responsibilities, you still have things that you have to do? And I appreciate this question, Jay, because this is one of the very first things that I do with my coaching clients. This is one of the very first things that we have to do when it's time to say, I have to manage myself better. Otherwise, every other area of my life is going to burn down. And so it is a mindset shift, and it is an empowerment session to put yourself as your first priority. And when I say that, it doesn't mean that the kids aren't your number one priority anymore. What it means is we have enough recognition to say, my cup has to be filled before I can be the type of mom that can care for my kids the way that I want to. My cup has to be filled. It is my responsibility to take care of myself so that I can show up to my job and do the best quality of work. Literally, from my story, I wasn't managing myself enough, and it cost me 6 weeks out of the office. That's an inhibitor to my company. They hired me on the premise that I'm going to show up and do my job. I couldn't even do that because of how bad I was managing myself. So it is a mindset shift for ourselves, right? The very first thing we do is identify the stuff I'm doing isn't working. Okay, got it. The next thing is prioritizing yourself with this mindset that it is my responsibility to show up in these areas of my life. And by taking that responsibility, taking that accountability on, you move yourself up to the first priority.
That's so good. And nobody's going to benefit from you being drained. That's like, if you're listening to this, like, take notes, because like nobody's going to benefit from you not giving yourself exactly what you need. So let's flip the script, right? Let's flip the script on the person who says, I need 10 things to start my day before I give anybody my attention, right? And now in my eyes, I'm like, yo, that's overkill. You don't need to do 10 things in your morning ritual. What would you say? How can we simplify or self-manage it versus thinking we need a ritual and a worship session and a whole church service for our management skills?
I'm so glad you said that, Jay, because I will totally say that in 2022, I had about 3 or 4 months in this self-management journey, becoming a master of this, where my morning ritual was like an hour and a half, or sometimes it was 2 hours. And it got to be that way because I wanted it to be. So let me say that, right? Like, I had control over it, I was doing it, but what started out small, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, became I wanted 20 minutes of journaling. I wanted 20 minutes of reading. Like, that was my control, but I completely agree. Now, fast forward a year and a half out of that season of life, and morning rituals should be efficient, effective, and set the tone for the day. So, whatever that looks like, and for each one of my clients, it can be different. Some people get the most out of starting their day with the gratitude practice. Some clients get the most out of starting their day with a little bit of reading because it inspires them to remember that, like, there's more knowledge out there than I have. Let me start with some fresh knowledge while I can learn, that type of thing. And setting an intention for the day. What do I want my day to look like? And so the last piece, and this gets talked about pretty often also, would just be some type of movement. Okay, so those are the 4 pieces that tend to make up a successful morning. And each day, each morning ritual can vary. Maybe one morning it's movement, maybe another morning it's journaling, but you want to break it down into bite-sized pieces that feel good for you and align with your schedule, your availability. So if you don't have 2 hours in the morning for your morning ritual, don't do it. And truthfully, after being a person who's had 0 morning ritual to having an extensive morning ritual and now finding myself somewhere in the middle, I would say it still comes back down to, what is my priority here, right? What do I want to get out of my morning ritual that's going to set my day up for success? And so then when you ask yourself that question, what do I need to get from this time that I'm setting aside for myself that's going to help me move forward throughout my day?
Thank you. I think you articulated that so well, right? And it's really breaking it down to, what are the most effective 20% of my actions to produce the 80% of the results that I want, right? And so, like, same as you, I used to have this long, extensive morning routine. Now I know what I need, right? I know what I need. So one, date around with your morning routine. Date around, find out what works, what doesn't work, what brings you joy, what energizes you, what's a drain, what drains you, what drags you down in the morning. Like, really figure that out for you, and then double down on what works. I always talk about the mindset of doubling down. I think it's something that we play with too often, right? People are like, I need to go hard on this, and then you kind of like tiptoe towards it a little bit more, but versus doubling down on it, I was like, okay, what does this look like scaled out at a larger scale? And so I put myself in this place of, who do I want to be in 10 years? How do I start doing what I'm doing? How do I start doing what that person is doing now, today, 90 days for the next 90 days, right? And it breaks it down to what I need. And that's an area of self-management, right? That's an area of managing my morning routine. For me, I'm up at 4:15. I spend an hour with God, right? And then I journal down my prayers. I journal down my tasks for the day. And then I go, right? Sometimes I get good and I will send out 5 gratitude texts to people. Sometimes that's it. I got five people I'll send a gratitude text for. And typically it's the people who don't really like interaction, just to make them feel a little uncomfortable and let them know I'm grateful for them. But like my good homie Brandon, he's going to be at Amplify as well. And he's going to do his episode, but I'll send him a gratitude text. He was like, "You are such an extrovert." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know, but I need that. It's not what he needs or what, but I need that." And it helps me manage myself so much. So give people a peek of your morning routine. What does managing Alexus look like from day to day?
Sure. And I'll totally give you a window into that. But before I do, let me back up here, because something else I want to say about morning routine and this intention of what you need for success. When you're in the thick of burnout, or if you're just about to approach going on this self-management journey, it's also okay to not know what you need. It's also okay to not know what you want your day to look like, or not know what the picture for yourself is in 10 years. You don't have to have all of that in order to start this process. The most important thing is for you to say to yourself, I know I want to do something different. I don't know what that different is, but I'm willing to try a bunch of different things until that different sticks and I find what my new normal is. So, with that being said,
and just to piggyback on that, I didn't know who I wanted to be in 10 years when I started.
Yep.
Clarity comes from action. A lot of people think that they need clarity before they need action. No, you need action before you need clarity. How do you know you're doing the right thing if you aren't taking action, right? How do you know it's working if you aren't taking action? How do you know you're doing the wrong thing if you aren't taking action?
Right? Yep. You have to get into motion. I have a group, we call it Accountability Creates Momentum. A substitute name is Action Creates Momentum. ACM really is what it stands for, or what it boils down to. And that's the entire premise, is you just have to start. So as we're talking about right now, self-management, taking care of yourself, prioritizing yourself is a start. Setting aside an extra 15 minutes in the morning for yourself, whether it's just because you decide, hey, I'm going to move my clock forward 15 minutes and start waking up earlier, that's still a prioritization. Then when you decide, okay, let me use these 15 minutes that I am awake because I said I'm going to do something productive, to set an intention for the day of what I want my day to look like. So these are all things that we can start building on, that creates that momentum, that gets you into action, that gets you moving. And then as that momentum goes, like Jay, like you just said, we get that clarity, we get that feedback from the world, from our actions, and then we know, okay, this is the right thing for me. I'm going to keep doing it, or I'm going to scale it, double down, or this doesn't quite feel like the right fit, so I'm going to tweak it and find where this needs to go so that I can keep staying in action. And that's what I really want, I guess, as far as we're talking about morning routines. Wherever you're at, just start, right? Jay just threw his out there. I'll share, like, before my symptoms regressed in 2022, I was waking up at 4 a.m., not even with an alarm. Like, it was just an excitement for life. And popping out of bed, ready to journal for 30 minutes, ready to read for 30 minutes, ready to get on a trail by 5:15 so that I could be in nature and soaking up the fresh air and move my body. Like, my morning routine, people legitimately thought that I had started doing like coke or something. Like, my dad asked me, he's like, "Are you on something?" I'm like, "No, man, I'm just high on life." Okay. Yeah. So I've had that experience. And then I had a health symptom regression with migraine taking back over my life in September of 2022. And I had to adjust. My morning ritual now looks totally different. I sleep until 6 in the morning or 7. Sometimes I even let myself sleep until 7. It's so nice. Then I wake up. Sometimes I scroll on my phone for a little bit because I work internationally. So a company that I represent, they're 9 hours ahead of me. By the time I'm waking up, I'm catching up on, their day's activities. So I do a little rundown of that. And then in the last couple of weeks, Jay, I've reintegrated journaling again and a little bit of reading. So I'm just trying to get my some of those foundational habits back after feeling like 9 hours of sleep was like the most important thing. For the last year and a half, that's what I had to focus on, and that became my priority. So having that freedom and flexibility within your own routines to adjust to what you need will continue to evolve and change.
Oh gosh, it's so good. Like be fluid. Be
Yeah.
fluid in those routines and listening to yourself, right? And when we think about management, we probably think about corporate level management. We associate the word management with leadership. And, if you guys listen to the podcast, we know that's not true, right? But it's the fact of like really understanding and listening to the people and the thing that you're managing. And so you got to tune into yourself, whether what season you're in, what energy and vibration you're putting off. You have to listen to yourself in order to manage yourself effectively. Like I've talked about, first we listen, then we learn, and then we lead, right? And this is the same way of listening to what your body's saying in this season, learning what could benefit your body in this season, and then doing the things to manage that outcome of that can benefit you in this season. So that's really good to hear. And to put a nice bow on it of saying it's okay to be fluid. You don't have to stick to this rigid routine. Guys, everybody knows me for getting up at 4:15. I talk about it like that's my thing. That's what I do. Like Alexus said, we're high off life, right? We're ready to get the day started, right? There's days where Jay don't get up till 6. There's it, right? And do I persecute myself? No. 9 times out of 10, it's my Sabbath, right? I'm taking that rest. I'm resting, and it's just who I am. But that looks different than what my normal routine is, and then I'm able to give myself that grace. So what I really think Alexus is saying here with you guys listening, give yourself grace for your morning routine. Give yourself grace. Don't just approach the day thinking that you need to be this high achiever every single day, each day. On the 7th day, the Creator rested. We rested, right? And we all have that spirit of needing rest, right? Our muscles need rest, and whatever that may look like. I know I switched and jumped over to the topic of rest.
I was going to say, I mean, we can go down the track of restful rest, because this is one of the other things with self-management that is so important. And I love that it's coming up organically, Jay, is because restful rest is different than just, oh, I'm going to take a vacation, or, oh, I'm going to give myself this afternoon off. But while I'm off, I'm obsessively checking my email, I'm calling people, and I'm constantly thinking about all the things that I'm not getting done. And I'm really mad at myself for taking this afternoon off. That is not restful rest. And I'm sharing this with you as someone who comes from being a hyper performer, recovering type A personality. That's pretty much where I put myself in the category, right? I'm a recovering perfectionist, in the sense of restful rest is when you can know inside your body and your mind that by resting, you are recharging. Yeah. You are giving your body the gift of rest, so that when it comes time to show up and do the work, you are prepared to do that. I mean, I like to think of it even in the terms of the NFL season, right? They still get a bye week. Now, depending on when that bye week happens, could determine how successful their season is or what happens on the bye week. That all looks different, but there is still time to be built in to rest. Also, I just recently heard this. There was a study conducted about redwood trees being injected with adrenaline. Have you heard of this before, Jay?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so redwood trees, the redwood forest, like big monstrous trees. Those things obviously know how to live for a very long time. So a group of scientists got around and decided to inject them with adrenaline to see what would happen. And the control group that had the adrenaline in it ended up dying. Now, I don't remember how long it took, if it was a year or a year and a half. That's escaping me at the moment. But the point being, the tree knew that it still needed to rest. It couldn't have adrenaline pumping all the time. We can't have our cortisol levels elevated all the time when we're living in a constant state of stress because of work or whatever we're doing with our family. We have to, quote unquote, winter the same way that nature does.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. That's good. And I think we have to learn how to make restful rest a priority.
Oh, yeah.
Restful rest is one of those 20% that will get you 80% of your result. It's 20% of the actions that will get you 80%. And that's restful rest. A lot of people don't think it is, but it is. Sometimes you just got to let the track breathe. Like, we don't need to be on it. And like you said, we can't live at that hype adrenaline state 24/7. It's not good for anybody, bro. I was in prison. I know what it's like to be on watch all day, every day, right? I know what it's like to be looking over my shoulder, having a peaked cortisol, stressed out, right? And I didn't like it. It wasn't good for me. And so now we've learned how to rest, guys. So if you guys were struggling with rest, now you can take a little something from this episode and apply it to a restful day. I always suggest a Sabbath. I think everybody needs a Sabbath. And Jay's like, I'm not religious. You ain't got to be religious. I'm not religious, right? I'm spiritual, but it's the fact that I think you need a day to, one, rest in the awe of your work. Rest in the awe of the greatness around you. Let the world be great without you for just a moment.
I like that. I absolutely love the sentence, rest in the awe of what you do. Wow, Jay, that just hit for me. I also would say, like, I have had to learn how to, quote unquote, bake rest, bake rest into my life, and doing it on a consistent basis. So I've already mentioned I live with migraine. I'm overcoming migraine. I'm figuring out how to adapt and still live a high quality of life with a chronic health condition. And what that means for me is afternoons, 2 or 3 days a week, I have to take off. Or I can pace myself real heavy for 3 days of work and then I have a full rest day. So my recovery and that recharge is dictated by my health condition, by my health circumstances. For anyone that's living a full, healthy life, if it is, okay, 1 day a week, that's fine. Take a whole day off. But if that feels uncomfortable for you and you're even more of a hyper obsessive performer and you're like, no way, man, I go hard all the time, 24/7, then give yourself 2 afternoons a week. Work in the morning, get stuff done, be productive so that then in the afternoon, you can tell yourself, yeah, I'm ready to take this nap. Or yes, I'm going to go take my kids to see this movie at the movie theater because I want that quality of time with them. So figuring out rest is just as much as a flexible accommodation in your life as finding your morning routine. And really, all self management tools that I help people develop are specific to you. These are overarching, like, fundamentals and principles, but the application for each individual is unique to your experience.
You only get what you give, right? And that needs to be tailored and focused and completely structured down to the person that you are and who you are and how you move and how you operate. With that being said, it leads me to transition as we get ready to close out here. Let's rapid fire so they get to know you a little bit better, right?
Sure.
I always ask this question to all the guests that come on. If you take away the successes, you take away all the accomplishments, you take away all the failures, you take away all the trials, you take away all the tribulations, who are you and why are you here?
Jay, I am a person on this earth that is meant to leave a good impact. Like, for some reason, I don't know why, I have this light inside of me and it's been there since I was little. I haven't really always known how to nurture it or foster it or how to shine it into the world. But just getting to be something that's positive, someone that's able to find the silver lining in dark situations. Now, I'm not saying I'm the queen of it. The other name that I've given myself is that I'm the queen of lemonade because I can take just about any lemon and turn it into something sweet, which is sometimes what I feel like life tends to deal me. But if we take away everything, if we were to strip it all down, I would say my superpower just comes down to the fact that, like, I truly believe that there is good in every situation.
That's beautiful. I think it's a top tier mindset to have and a great perspective to look at life, right? Life There's good in everything, and all things work for the good, right? Everything works together. It's a cohesive universe, right? I remember Mike Posner listening to one of his songs, and he breaks it down. He said, "Universe stands for one verse." Right, one song, that we're all singing the same song, and it's about healing and moving forward and growing, right, and managing ourselves better, and just to make a positive impact. The positive can be found in any situation. Next question: if your childhood had a smell, what would it be?
Oh man, if my childhood had a smell, what would it be? Wow, I've I don't even know. My brain doesn't even know how to process that question, Jay. Um Maybe um if they could make like the cake that has sprinkles in it, um like birthday cake, if that had a smell, that might be what it is, because what I'm imagining is like a vanilla smell, because I love vanilla, but then there has to be some sort of unexpected pop in there, which is kind of what I'm imagining as the sprinkles, because my life has just had so many like unexpected twists and turns that you're just surprised. So that there you go, Jay.
There
That's
it is.
my birthday cake. If we could make it a smell, that would be my
Birthday.
experience.
Childhood smells like birthday cake. You know, if I told my son right now, "Hey son, your childhood is going to smell like birthday cake," I think he'd be excited. I mean, he wouldn't
Probably.
he wouldn't expect it to be a whole bunch of twists and turns and pops out of the road. But hey, that's birthday cake for you. You get the unexpected. You know,
Yeah,
you ever
expect the unexpected.
like you show up to a party and you're like, you know, I really hope that they have vanilla cake, and they only have chocolate, but it's a birthday cake, so you got to eat it, right? No, I definitely understand. That's good. I like that. I like that. Last one. If you were a pizza topping, what kind of pizza topping would you be?
Oof. Okay. My current favorite, also pizza is like my jam. Okay, Jay. So pizza is one food that I think I could
Yeah.
probably eat for the rest of my life.
Come
Like it
on.
is my go-to. Um, and right now I'm in a season of pepperoni and pineapple.
Okay. Okay.
Reason being, it's got a little flavor and a little sweet. You know, I'm not totally a Sour Patch Kid, but I'm a little bit along those lines where you just come out swinging, pop, bring a lot of good value, a lot of good things at the beginning. So, yeah, I'm just gonna go with my current favorite, pepperoni and pineapple.
Love it. I love it. I don't normally see those two together, right? And so it's a little different. I like that. I like that. That's Alexus Rae for you, ladies and gentlemen. She's a little different. She'll pop
Yeah.
up. She'll pipe up. It's real good. I like it. Turn around, be your favorite pizza topping. You never know. You never know. Alexis, I just want to say thank you for joining me on this conversation. One, I'm even more excited to have you in Scottsdale at Amplify with us. I mean, you're already in Scottsdale. I'm the one who's coming to Scottsdale. So I'm just excited about our collaboration there. Alexis, will you tell everybody where they can find you, and any last words of support, motivation, inspiration, or self management? Leave us with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so excited to be at the Amplify event. January 26th, 27th, you'll be able to find both Jay and I there. You can find me at alexusrae.com, ALEXUSRAE.com, or on social media at Miss underscore Alexus Rae. And just leaving you with the fact that you can wake up today and ask yourself, what do I want my day to look like? And it could be exactly what you want it to look like.
That simple, that easy. It can be exactly what you want it to look like. I absolutely love that, Alexis. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, your expertise, and your guidance with us today. Last question, last question. I know I already said last question, but I was like, yo, I forgot my other question. If I was to offer you the phrase, "Don't touch my mindset," what comes to mind?
Just had to take a breath there so I could let that sink in for a second. Um, it's a powerful one, right? Don't touch my mindset to me is being able to say that I'm in control. of my mindset. I'm the one who gets to take personal responsibility for this, and it's mine, and I'm going to do it on my terms.
I absolutely love that. I'm gonna have to do some rebranding now. I love it. No, that's
Careful,
really good.
careful, Jay.
Yo, again, thank you guys. Please rate, review, share this episode with a friend if anything resonated with you. And we are back next week. We'll see you guys at Amplify. Look at the show notes for your ticket link and get your spot. Meet us in Scottsdale.